This is Gene Gray. I'm working on a YouTube channel, and what I'm going to talk about today is Major League Baseball. I'm going to go through the divisions, talk about a couple of the teams, or all the teams in the divisions. I'm not going to go in and pick what place they're going to finish and do all those things, because I hate when I watch the magazines or the different networks and people pick teams, then they go through the season, the team they pick first is in last, and they don't even go back and talk about how they messed up on their picks or whatever. I'm just going to go through some of the teams, maybe tell you what teams I think will be in the upper half, lower half, things like that. I'm from Kansas City. I'm going to start off with the American League Western Division, and I'm going to start off with the American League champions from last year, the Kansas City Royals. Now, this is a team that I think can get back to the World Series. I think it's going to be tough because we had everything go right this last season. But I also think we have a lot of places we can improve on. I'll start off with talking about the pitching. The bullpen is lights out. That's the reason we got that far, and we're going to be doing the same thing. If we got the lead after 6 innings with Kelvin Herrera, Greg Holland, and Wade Davis, the way they pitched, unless those were their career years and they can't touch that again, but Holland's been pretty consistent now for 2 years. I think it's a 6-inning game again. I think they're going to be pretty dominant. And if Luke Hochevar comes back, now I don't know, he's coming off Tommy John surgery or his elbow. He had elbow surgery. If he comes back and he's like he was pitching really well last year, or the year before, and then he got hurt all last year, so we didn't even get to see him pitch, then they could have a totally dominant bullpen. But with those three, I know Tim Collins had some arm trouble. I'm hoping he's okay, but we have a couple lefties. Until he starts throwing more strikes, he's not going to stay in the major leagues because he just walks too many batters. But I like Jason Frazier being in that bullpen. He's not going to have to pitch a lot. He's a veteran, and I think he'll do well. Now, the starting pitching, since the Royals lost James Shields, it's going to be tough to replace that. But I think with their 2 young stars, I think the thing that James Shields did is he taught them how to win. And I think that's what the Royals needed. I wish we could have James Shields again. I wouldn't pay him $20 million a year because with our market, with the Royals' market size, there's no way we were going to sign him. But Yordano Ventura and Danny Duffy. And Duffy didn't even pitch much in the playoffs because he was hurt, which we found out after the series when they didn't pitch him much. But they are the 2 guys that, depending on what they do, if they keep getting better and improving, I think Yordano Ventura is going to be as good as Pedro Martinez. I really believe that. And if he does, the Royals are going to have a chance to win the World Series, or at least get back there. But as long as they stay healthy, then I think we'll be in good shape. Because I think adding Edinson Volquez, though I'd rather have somebody better, I think he'll fill in nicely. He just has to pitch okay. He doesn't have to pitch great. Because as long as Jason Vargas and Jeremy Guthrie keep being solid like they were, now if they have really bad years, then we'll have a tough time. But Guthrie's just got to give us a couple more years. The Royals have some youngsters in the minors that may be able to come up. You saw Brandon Finnegan pitching the playoffs if you watched it, the World Series. He's a guy that the Royals want to be a starter, so I don't know if he's going to make the roster because I don't think they're going to have him in the bullpen. Now, I wouldn't mind him in the bullpen if they were going to end up using him enough and then send him over there, but I think they're going to put him in the minors, let him start, let him get some experience. I think what he did last year playing in the College World Series and then the Major League World Series is just incredible, but I don't think they want to put too much on his plate. So I think he's for down the road, especially when Guthrie's probably gone. Vargas is signed for a couple seasons. He's still not that old that he's going to pitch here for a while. So I think the main thing is I think our starting pitching is still going to be really good, but you just got to give us 5 innings, 5, 6 innings at the most. You don't have to pitch 7, 8 innings. We don't have to have that. And I think we have one of the better starting pitching staffs in this division, along with, depending on what Cleveland's young pitchers do. But I think those two staffs are going to have the best pitching staff, at least starting pitchers. But with that bullpen, the Royals, they almost won the World Series with that alone. I'll go through a couple of the position players. At catcher, you got Salvador Perez. I think he's going to end up being one of the top 2 or 3 catchers in the American League. I think he'll end up being one of the top ones. We're only scratching the surface of how good he can be. But Ned, you got to give him some breaks. He played way too much. He wore down in the second half. He didn't do a lot in the playoffs. He is a great catcher, but you got to save him for the playoffs. You can't use him so much. I'm just talking 10, 15 games, 20 games. You've got to use some backups. On some Sundays, you got to take him out of the lineup. He's got to play less. And I still think we can win a lot of games even if he doesn't. Eric Kratz is a decent backup. He only has to spell some relief, but we got to save him so he can go longer in the playoffs. And a lot of these young guys are going to learn how these long seasons go, and hopefully they get in more shape. Salvador Perez he's a great player. He's a great person. He has fun playing the game. And I think he's going to play for a long time and be a very good catcher. Now, I don't know how long he'll be playing for the Royals, but until their contracts get to the point where we have to decide if we can pay him or not or trade him away. But the Royals have about a 3-year window of winning, and that was before last year. I didn't think we would make the World Series. I thought we were still a couple years away. But now they know what it takes, so hopefully that'll help them. And hopefully being one game away from winning will really get them wanting to win that World Series. But I think the one thing is the Royals, it took them a while to believe they were this good. I don't think they believed they could beat Detroit. I really don't. And we still have trouble with beating Detroit. So we're going to have to start beating them if we want to win the division and to really believe that we're this good. So, but we're going to have to win games, and we've put 2 good seasons together. Now, if these young guys improve a lot, the Royals, I think, will be the best team in the division. But it depends on a couple things, and one of those players is Eric Hosmer, the first baseman. Now, if he plays the way he plays last year, it's good enough, because with his defense, but he's got to hit more home runs. He's got to drive in more runs and be more consistent. But I think he will. He's really young. And I think they'll only get better. And I think the one thing the Royals didn't have last year, I think a bunch of hitters in the lineup didn't play well. I mean, a couple of them, like Billy Butler, who's not with us anymore. I don't think Hosmer played as well as he should. So he's got to put up big numbers and be a superstar. I'll go ahead and skip over to third base and Mike Moustakas. He can't hit 150, 160 most of the season. Now, he did produce in the playoffs, but hopefully the green light comes on with him. He worries me, but he's got to hit 30 home runs. I don't care if he hits 220. He doesn't have to hit for high average. But he's got to hit some home runs, and he's got to drive in, at least, get some pretty good RBIs. Now, I don't know what he's going to do. He could be sent down in the minors. I have no idea. Hopefully it clicks in, but he's got to have a good start. He looked good in spring training last year and then went back to the old Mike Moustakas. If he's the old Mike Moustakas, we're in trouble. Now, I hope he's just young and it just hasn't clicked in yet and he's just struggling. But the seasons that we've had with him, he doesn't look good. Now, at least he plays a decent third base defensively, so that should be, that's fine. But if he doesn't hit better, the Royals are going to have to do something else at third base. Now, he's still young enough. I'd still give him a year or two, but we don't have enough time. That's the one thing with the Royals. We're a small market. When these guys get to be too expensive, we're going to have to trade them all away, and we're rebuilding again. So we've got to win now. And the next 3 seasons, I think that's what we'll try to do. But we're trying to keep our young nucleus together to do that. And Moustakas and Hosmer have to play up to more of the potential because they're supposed to be that good. If they get that good, then the Royals have a chance of being really, really good. But those two are big-time question marks. Are they the players that they're playing right now? I don't think so. I think they'll get better. And I think that they will be able to hit some home runs. Now, at second base, you got Omar Infante. The one thing the Royals have to do, just like with Salvador Perez, is they've got to give him rest. His shoulder's been giving him problems. He cannot play second base the whole year. You've got Christian Colon, that's a pretty decent player in the minor leagues. He played some last year, can play different positions, play him. But Ned, you've got to do that. You can't keep using the same lineup over and over and over. And then because if we make the playoffs, these guys are too wore out. Of course, you have to get there to do that. But I think we'll still win games with some backups playing some, because if we're pitching, that's the key to everything anyway. But we've got to score enough runs, and that's the other thing. Can we score more runs? Because we need to win more than 89, 90 games. I think if we do that, because if we win about 92 to 95, I think the Royals will win this division. I think around 90 games we'll probably win this division again. So at shortstop, you got Alcides Escobar. He's only getting better and better as long as it's his bat that he's just got to be consistent with. And I think he will be. He's one of the best defensive shortstops in the league. So I think they're set pretty well there. Left fielder, Alex Gordon. The only question with him is he going to pick up his option next year and play another year, or are we going to need to trade him before we get to that point? But I don't think we're going to trade him this season. I think we're playing with him, and then if we lose him after this, we're just hoping that he'll stay and that we play well, and that he won't go after the money, because he will get a lot more money somewhere else, and he's getting up in his age, so this might be one of his last chances to get a big contract. So I just hope he stays healthy. He's great defensively. He's one of our best all-around players. He's our hardest worker. He's in the best shape. There's not a lot I can say about Alex Gordon. He's been to the All-Star games, and he deserves it. Center field, Lorenzo Cain and Jared Dyson. I think as long as we use Dyson enough where Cain just doesn't seem like, if he could put together a whole season, but he always just has hamstring injuries or things that limit him. If he could play a full season, Lorenzo Cain would be, I think what you saw in the playoffs is what he'll be. But the Royals just have to make sure they use Dyson and not get Cain hurt too much. But I don't know if he'll get 600 at-bats. I'd like to see what Cain could do if he did that, because I think he could put up some really good numbers. But Dyson is a great fourth outfielder, and I even think if the Royals could start getting him more playing time, I'd like to see how many stolen bases Dyson could get if he was a starter. But they did sign Alex Rios. I think he's an upgrade from Nori Aoki that we had. He's way better defensively. I just hope he can get his power back, because he hit 4 home runs in Texas. That's horrible. But Rios has had some good years where he's hit home runs. I think the Royals are banking on, they're hoping that he'll go back to doing that. But you're in Kauffman Stadium, so it's still going to be hard to hit home runs. But we just need him to hit 20, 25 home runs. They don't have to hit 30, 35. They just got to be, if Rios can be in the 20s and still steal some bases, I think that'll be great. Kendry Morales, we lost Billy Butler, and Billy Butler had not played well the last 2 years, not up to his potential when he had the 29 home runs and had that career year. But Morales, I think if he can stay healthy, I think he'll give us enough home runs. I think he can still hit, but it's a big if he can stay in the lineup every day. But he's going to be our DH, maybe play a little bit of first base every now and then. But he's the key to how well this season can be. If he hits home runs, I think that would help the Royals, even if Moustakas and Hosmer can't get their home run totals up. But I think the Royals are actually better with Rios and Morales over Butler and Nori Aoki. So, where do I think the Royals are going to finish? I think it's going to be depending on what the White Sox do, but I think this is a 3-team race, and I actually think it'll probably come down to 2. And the one thing is, I think sooner or later, Detroit's going to start struggling, but with all the hitting they have, I still got them up there. So until someone dethrones them, I think they're going to be right in the mix. I think Cleveland's got some young players. I think they'll be really good and be right there. But if the Royals' young hitters improve and they get enough pitching to offset Shields, which I think they could, I think the Royals are going to be tough to beat because with their rotation and with their bullpen, I just think they're still one of the better teams. But they're young, and you don't know how consistent they'll be. But I think they'll be in the upper part of the division and either fighting for the wild card or they can win this division.